The good thing about this panel is like 2 of the people on here are long-term friends and 2 are just amazing people that I really love. Okay, should we start with you, Raf?
Okay, so I'm Rafael. I'm a photographer and collage artist, and I use my collages to tell stories. And right now I'm pivoting into more of trying to become an artist now. So yeah.
And Megan?
Ooh. So hi, my name's Megs. I am a confident and emotional, I don't know why I chose this title, and I actually hate this question, if I'm being honest, because I feel like there's so much pressure to get a title right, and I feel like I can never find something that really encapsulates everything I do. But I work with emotions and about confidence. So I run workshops, I'm a speaker, I do sessions teaching creatives, visionaries, dreamers, pretty much how to experience the joy and the liberation of being themselves, because I think there's a lot, particularly if you're a creative, where we can kind of get into this realm of I'm not good enough, I need this before I can make this move, or I'm not ready. And I think it's really empowering to learn how to actually feel your feelings, embrace the fear, and creatively express yourself all at the same time.
Brandon, introduce yourself.
I'm Brandon. I'm a senior influencer manager and talent manager. So my job includes finding talent for campaigns that I work on across Revolut. So like a bank, food, mother and childcare, and everything in between you can imagine. I work on it. So today is a good opportunity for me to meet talent like yourselves.
Amazing.
Hello, everyone. What a pleasure it is to be here with such amazing talent and all of your beautiful smiling faces. My name's Liv. I am an artist who advocates for artists. I am a creator and I am a writer. You most likely might know me a little bit from TikTok. That is my baby, my Shayla. Yes, I am all about motivating people to find their destiny and purpose, because I think that really is the most important thing in life, is to really feel fulfilled and passionate about what you do.
I feel like you didn't actually blow your own trumpets enough. Let me add a little bit. Liv, I found on TikTok, she has over 100k followers on TikTok, which is crazy to build that by yourself. Brandon, yes, like you said, he's worked with Revolut. He's also taken himself all the way from London, got a job in Amsterdam, come back. Like, that's a lot to do by yourself. Megan has been through an amazing journey. She's also probably one of the people that's inspired me to do, I'm gonna cry, like I'm literally gonna cry. When I started learning to DJ, she was the person who I lived with, and yeah, just having someone as positive like her really helped me to just keep going, basically. Raf has worked with Kaytranada, OVO, everywhere. I'll be in the crowd. I was at Carnival. He was there working for Ray Nephew. He just takes photographs for everyone. This is a very talented panel. And of course, I need to introduce myself. I'm Mads Diamond. I'm a DJ. We're going to be talking next, well, first, about creative identity and overcoming challenges. Obviously, you've told us a little bit about what you do already, but I wanted to get deeper into the creative work. So can you tell us what your art or creativity, what inspires it, and how has that reflected in your journey?
It's definitely been my own personal struggles with self-confidence. Gosh, I had my first therapist at 7, so I was I think by 14 I was reading personal development books, and I fell into this really dark space of fixing myself. And I think sometimes that healing journey has been very much commodified, and everyone's selling you the next fix. So I got to this space maybe 5-6 years ago where I felt like I was in a worse place than when I started, and recognized actually I just want to be able to be myself. And so a lot of what I create, which is the safe spaces in my workshops and sessions, is around how can we make, within our community spaces, within our workplaces, within just our friendships, these really safe spaces for us to be vulnerable, to have context, to recognize that actually we're really not that different to one another. We really all do struggle with the same insecurities, but we just don't share. We don't talk about it. And so I think a lot of my inspiration comes from what did I need at the age of 18? And I produce that now. I'm always thinking about that kind of like younger version of me.
Definitely. I think you just summarized that really well. Anyone else?
What inspires me is everyone. I guess when I'm looking or working on something, my go-to is like everyone that I follow or who I'm influenced by. I always want to find, like, they might not have a lot of followers, but they may just create content in like the best way that fits the campaign that I'm working on. But I do have like in a personal sense and bring it to my professional value is a core sense of making sure that everybody is seen, those from marginalized communities. We see so many campaigns that tend to put the same type of influencer in the forefront, whereas my value sits at like finding everybody that has a niche, has their craft, and has perfected it in a way, but they may be from the LGBT community or people of color. Like, I think more so than not, there's a lot of brands that tend to only invest in them when feels right for them. So when it's LGBT like History Month or like Pride Month or like Black History Month, I find that a lot that they only seem to want to invest when the calendar allows.
It profits them. Basically.
And whereas for me, like, my values are like, well, these people exist every day and throughout the whole year, so why are we not investing in them in a campaign that doesn't need to highlight who they are, but actually goes beneath that and lets their creativity be seen?
Part of what I do is like, I discovered it because when I was taking photos, I just wanted to show more photos. I just thought, let me do these digital collages. After that, I kind of realized there's limitations to what you can do on your computer. So then I just started making them by hand. I'll show you something I got commissioned to do in the summer last year for the festival City Splash. Yeah, I just use them to like tell stories. I figured that if you put like 6 A3 sheets together, when you scan them in on Instagram, it becomes like 10 slides. This is what I would have made. And they were just all pages. So I would have taken all the photos and I would have like printed them out the next day, cut them all out, different shapes, sizes, glued them together. And then I can't really...
It makes one big image, right?
Actually, no, everyone hold like one. And like, this is heavily connected to my culture because I'm Jamaican and like, for like summer is Jamaican proving time. That's like our World Cup. But my birthday is like 1 week before Carnival. So there's a lot of pressure. And I just feel like to tell stories through my culture is like a sick way to like bring my art. And there's just so many pages. And eventually when you scan them all in, it's like one thing on Instagram. So getting commissioned to do these, turn paper into like actual like paper is amazing because I'm also getting booked for my photography fee and I'm also getting booked to then create the commission itself.
Yeah, this is not just no average photographer.
But then like naturally over time, you just like within some limitations and within like ways that you get limited to express yourself, I think you kind of have to push through and like find your unique way. And for me, that was what I did. I felt like, like, why am I doing it on the computer? Like, everyone does that. And at the end of the day, I think kind of when you find like something that's unique for yourself, like you should tailor it, nurture it. If there's like a way you do it that's better than someone else, then let's see where that takes you. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of the result of this, just persistence. And yeah, it makes me feel good. Like I got my own thing. It's like kind of self-affirmation in some way, knowing that I can create something that maybe someone else can't, and I can do it with paper and a pair of scissors in a cafe. Maybe I can't do some other things, but that's my thing. You get?
It's very unique.
Yeah. So for me, my art is writing about the neurodivergent experience. I think obviously in the last few years, neurodivergence has been a hot topic. It's, again, something that you're talking about, which is inclusivity. There is a severe lack of representation across the board for neurodivergence. It kind of didn't exist until people decided it mattered. And we all collectively came together and stood up for ourselves and started saying, hey, we've got these things in common. I think that led to so many people getting diagnosed. And, you know, I think about all the people who aren't diagnosed, who have had to self-diagnose and they're still on their journey. So I think a lot of artists are neurodivergent. It just kind of goes with the territory of like thinking out of the box and lots of ideas that are constantly flowing. So I aim to represent that community because I think if you don't see yourself, whether it's in film, a book, in music, anything, I feel like you don't feel like you exist. And I think a lot of us felt like that. I think we end up putting ourselves into boxes that we don't belong in because we don't fit in anywhere. So it's good to stand out, even though it can be terrifying for a lot of neurodivergent people, because that's often not what we really like to do. It's important to be the change that you want to see.
I wanted to ask you how you deal with imposter syndrome.
I mean, you just heard from me, but
Yeah.
I love this question. I think it's really cool to think about it this way when it comes to imposter syndrome. There is... oh God, there's a great YouTuber called Damien Dominique. He's fantastic. And he said this one thing and it stuck with me forever. And it was like, there's not a room that you do not belong in. There is nowhere on this earth where you can step into a room and you don't belong. The thing about imposter syndrome, and the thing that I always try to tell myself, is that I am in competition with no one. Nobody is my competition. There's no hierarchy. We're all peers here. And I think once you like lean into that and empathize with each other from a place of deep love and understanding, there's no gatekeeping. Everybody is individual for a reason. Everyone does something in a slightly different way. And yes, you can think, oh, well, I want to be an artist, or I want to be a content creator, or I want to be a painter, but there's just so many painters. There's so many bottles of water. You go into the supermarket, that's a famous thing everybody talks about on podcasts. You go into a supermarket, there's a million different types of bottled water. And yet somebody likes that particular bottle.
I love that quote. Yeah.
That is something I don't struggle with. The reason I don't struggle with it anymore, when I did for a very long time, honestly, good 25 years of struggling with it, is because it's my duty to have deep self-esteem for myself. Because when I stand in rooms that I know that a few years ago I wouldn't have had a chance to be in, I have to stand like with my chest, because I want all of the other people that look like me to feel like they can be in that room. So when I'm in that situation, I don't go, oh my God, I shouldn't be here. I'm like, yeah, this is good, because it's not just about me.
Yeah, I've had like enough ups and downs in my own life, but particularly when like one of the biggest challenges I find amongst like maybe the age group here is that like maybe some of you are like moving out. Like have you like how many people moved out here like living by themselves? Like yeah, quite a few, yeah. Like when you live alone, like the things you're dealing with, it's different now. It's a true reflection of yourself. And I think sometimes, particularly during the winter time, like this past like I would say 4 or 5 months, like I've been going through it myself. But I've got like some type of structure where I always know that when you're going through stuff, or particularly during the winter time, it's time to incubate your best art and your best ideas, because you have like more time to like reflect. You're like unclouded by like the enjoyment of summer, and the pace of the city as well changes as well. So I'm kind of aware of that, and I know how to deal with my kind of mental struggles I go through like through creating my best art. But I think that comes from like a deep rooted sense of like, like if I'm just here with my thoughts, I have to turn this time into something productive, or else my mind's gonna eat at me. And that's why like, I don't know, I make a big effort to like say like during your down periods, you should always have some type of, I don't know, drawing to like some form of like self-improvement, you know, a little hobby you got, or whether it's going gym. Ultimately, like you show your own self your self-worth like by dedicating time to improve yourself. Prove to yourself that you can do it, you know what I mean? Eventually those answers are going to come in on you, you know what I mean? You're going to eventually kind of think to yourself, and eventually the answers are going to come to you about what you can do to change it. And I think, yeah, that's the best way to empower yourself, to be like, let me apply it to my art, or let me apply it to my business or my ideas or wherever you got going on. So yeah, that's how I navigate that.
Megan, I feel like you would be really good at answering this question.
I kept quiet because I hate the term imposter syndrome, purely because I think it creates a problem out of something that is just so human and normal.
Yeah.
It's fear. That your message is much stronger than the fear of how it may be perceived, or how you may be witnessed, or how you may be misunderstood, or whatever it might be. These are very human experiences that we all have. To call it a syndrome just makes it sound like it's an issue and it's something you need to solve and fix. Whereas actually, if you can lean into fear for what it is, you're at like this choice point. You're either at this point of, and I think there's a little bit of discernment that comes through practice, but you're often in this space where you are being the bravest version of yourself you have ever been, because fear is present. And I think if you can look at it that way, it kind of changes the experience of, yeah, I'm afraid, I'm unsure, I'm in a space where I've never been before, or I'm doing something or creating or speaking up in a way I've never allowed myself to do before. Like, that's something to celebrate. So if you can just switch that in your mind, I think it becomes a much more empowering process than something that needs to be solved for.
Brandon, what about you?
I mean, I deal with imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
But in the sense of like, not in a professional sense, there are times where I'm like presenting in front of like big stakeholders in a room, and I have that self-doubt of feeling like, oh, am I worthy of doing this? Or like, am I capable? Even though I know what I'm doing and I know like what I need to say, but it's just that extra layer of feeling like, wow, like, do I really know what I'm doing? But then once you do it, I'm like, oh, yeah, I did. So for me, it's just like reassuring myself that I do know everything I need to know, and like you're worthy of being in the room. But that being said, like there's still that self-doubt. Can I apply for this role or this job? Because of, you feel like you may not tick every box. But I think there was a statistic that showed that like men, like I'm going to generalize here in terms of men and women, but men are more likely to apply for a job that they don't really have all of the skill sets for, compared to women who won't apply because they feel like they don't hit all of it, even though he might not even have half of the elements of it. So it's just the only person stopping us or ourselves effectively, because like we're our own worst enemy in terms of that self-doubt. The only people that do like prevent me or get me out the rut of self-doubt are the people around me, because once you soundboard it out, like with your friends and your peers, they're the ones that are rooting for you the hardest. Like, so therefore then you're like, oh, I can do that. Yeah, like, let's go. Like, so for me, once I have something that I'm sitting on and I want to do or I'm unsure of, as soon as I speak about it, it's like it becomes real, and then it's no longer in my brain. It's like, okay, now I've got to do it because I've said it.
Also, I know everyone always says this, but literally no one has any idea what they're doing. We're going to move on to talking a little bit about your online presence and being authentic. Do you worry about how you're perceived online? And if so, how do you just get on with it and stay authentic?
You know what, yeah. For me, it's weird because like, I was using my Insta to just do my life stuff. And then I started doing my work. I just put it on the same page. So it's not like I've got 2 different pages for like my personal stuff and then my Insta stuff. And then obviously now where I'm kind of trying to pivot into being an artist, I guess it kind of makes sense to lean into who you are more for people to understand a bit more about who you are. But I always just think of it like this, like, you know, when you think like, oh, like, what if that person thinks I'm doing this or I think this, like from what you post on your story or you put out there, you just got to think like, they're coming to you, like it's your platform. It's, you just do what you want, like, and ultimately, like there has to be, we all have to practice some degrees of self-awareness. You know, like sometimes there's things like I'm thinking to post on my story and I'm like, nah, that's close friends, like, and then these are my close friends. I'll kind of think of it like that, like this is my place. You know what I'm saying? And kind of having that empowerment as well kind of can sometimes inspire you to maybe try and make your thing more unique or present your way, yourself in the best, like in the way best way you want to, you know? Like maybe you do your cooking video different to how next man do their cooking video, but hey, as long as it's yours, people coming to your thing to see it, you know? Why should you care about that? Embrace the individuality, you know? Be yourself.
I like that. It's basically like, get out my room. Like,
yeah,
if you don't like it, get out.
Like when I look at my Insta, I'm like, this reminds me of my bedroom. Like,
yeah.
Like this is how I decorate my bedroom. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, technically it's the same way. You put your stories up, like you put up photos on your wall, like you scroll through your page, you're seeing summer, winter, you're seeing the fits, everything. Like, treat it like your room, your space. Like, decorate it, make it look nice, and if someone comes in, they don't like it, then that's their problem. But just don't be saying nothing mad.
Yeah.
Just don't be doing a mad thing.
For me, I don't even post. So like,
so interesting.
I'm the complete opposite of everything I do. Like as a talent manager, I'm always like, here, be consistent, always post, be seen. It's better to have the content up rather than it not being seen at all, because it might be that one video that you might thought, oh, it was only a little quick done, but it went the most viral. So for me, I'm more of a perfectionist when it comes to my own craft, of like stopping my own self from uploading when it comes to my own content, both in a sense of like the professional sense, because the lines sort of blur when you're like both the talent manager and then also having the influencers, the talent, but also having that gap between it. But yeah, I mean, it's on my list of 2025 to post more of what I do.
It does still blow my mind that people find me interesting. And I think that's what I want anybody here who is like an artist or creative who has something to produce, who's like, oh, I don't think anybody would like my stuff. I am so amazed every single day that people like what I do. And if I hadn't just decided one day to just post, I wouldn't be sat here. So it's so important to validate yourself. When it comes to being perceived, I do get it. It's scary. It is scary to think, oh my God, this could go viral. You know, 1 million people could see my face, and then, you know, it's a lot. We're not really meant to endure that as humans. It's a lot to have that much attention on you. But what I want to say is that you can do it. I could do it. I did it shaking in my boots, terrified. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't have any professional equipment. I just had my iPhone 11 and that was it. And I just started talking into the camera about what was concerning me with my life and my creative struggles and what was getting in the way. Things click into place. You don't have to have like this elaborate plan. When it comes to being perceived, think of it like you get to take up space. That's okay. You get to take up space. It's not narcissistic because you're passionate about what you want to do and you're marketing it on social media. That is the way that people get seen. That is it. And so you have to go through that process. Give yourself a break. Yes, it can feel petrifying, but I have full faith in anyone here, because if I can do it, and I used to be like a nervous wreck. I used to be shaking in my boots. So if you're worried about negative comments and things like that, maybe we can get onto that into another question, because I think that's what stops people from making content.
I was going to segue to negative comments, because I always think about that quote that says, like, the only people criticizing other people are the ones doing less work than yourself type of vibe. Like, you never see a CEO criticize or in the comment section of someone else's business. To criticize when you don't know what it takes to be perceived, it is such a vulnerable process to commit to, and I think it comes against all of our survival mechanisms of being accepted, of feeling like we belong. And the more, more seen you are, the more risk you take of not having that sense of, mass acceptance. So I always just think, if anyone's got time in the day to criticize what I'm doing and being brave and being allowing myself to be seen, you've got too much time on your hands. You're not spending enough time. You do not know what it takes to put yourself out there anyway. So, like, your opinion means fuck all to me.
Yeah, bums.
Word. I feel like we sort of touched on the idea of the fear of being great, and then also I feel like there's like the fear of it getting 200, 100 views, which I think keep seeing the quote where it's like, yeah, but 100 people in the room is amazing. It's like, well, on TikTok it's shit, so like leave me alone. Like, often I'll post videos and I'll look back and I'm like, 200 views, like, I can't be arsed, I'm deleting it. I guess those videos in the future, people could come and find you and be like, no way she posted, like, okay, this is an amazing example. Dochi, yeah, sorry, I can't stop talking about Dochi. No. So Dochi had a YouTube channel where she was actually, part of it was where she was like talking about her experience with this book, and she was on there talking to herself, like making these vlogs about her experience of how she was like trying to get into Universal, going into the different record labels and asking like, please just give me a chance, like let me be an intern, anything. And she was getting turned away, and they obviously had like 100 views at the time, and I've been religiously watching them. Obviously now they're on like thousands of views. So I'm learning as I talk, honestly. I shouldn't be deleting these 200 view videos, because in the future, you don't know what you could do. You don't know, something could go viral and then people could come and find you and they could learn something really inspiring from that, like I have done. Just leave stuff on there, to be quite honest. Brandon might say different. What do you think?
No, I do, like, leave it there.
Yeah.
Like, 100%. For me, the content as a whole, it's like you're making content firstly for you. If you're creating your craft and you're doing it in like however you see fit, like it doesn't matter about if 10 people, 100 people or 1,000 people even see it, because you've made it. And you just said one person might come back to that and see that and be like, oh, like there's an opportunity here. Like that 200 people is still a lot of people. So you still have to just see it as like what it could be, rather than just always looking. I would just say, if you're uploading the video, upload it and get off the app. Yeah. And then just whatever happens. That is just the way I approach things, of like, just don't get so caught up in the reaction, but you've done the action to begin with. So like you've already done the first step that a lot of people wouldn't have even done, because that's the only thing that sets people aside from the fact of even creating content as a whole, is the fact of like the consistency and the actual getting started, because everyone has the ability to do something. People, not everyone wants to, but like you can monetize in every way, shape and form of your platform. Like anyone that does any job, like whether that be a hairstylist or anything, like if you're creating content and you're inconsistent with it, all it takes is someone to see where you're working, and then you've got another client. Like, and that's the same with every craft. Opening your avenues of being seen, whether that's by 100, 200 or 1,000, all going viral, you're still being seen by those people.
So I want you to write down one aspect you hesitate to show online, because this segment is going to be about trying to post online more and more authentically. Would anyone like to share their negative thing that they flipped into something positive, please?
So yeah, one that we spoke about was feeling very like exposed, especially if like, so my one is sometimes I'm just not feeling great. I don't feel like posting, I don't feel like talking to people, but going out and being around people that I'm comfortable with, we all a lot of the time feel exactly the same. I started doing it in a way where I'm just telling a story, like I'm having a normal conversation, and people resonate with it sometimes. And you'll get messages back sometimes where, oh, I actually feel like that as well. Thank you so much for sharing that. So it's like now you get to actually help someone else who's maybe going through the same thing and feels like they can't talk about it. So because you did, they also feel seen and they feel like a bit more comfortable. So then it becomes a space where people feel more like happy to share those kind of things, and it becomes normal.
I'd say prioritizing yourself over others. Now, this may sound kind of like narcissistic or not, but as like a sibling of 3 and I'm the oldest of them all, I have to kind of like take care of them, as well as like my mum recently just had a baby and they both work full time, my mum and my dad. So I'm there now being like part-time mum, which kind of a headache. But getting up out of bed as well. Like, I can't lie, I'm a lazy ass. But like getting up out of bed and feeling motivated to do stuff that even people might not see.
Yeah, that's true.
Just doing little things like that.
Yeah.
I don't believe in laziness. I think that is
Thank you, by the way.
something invented to make us feel bad about ourselves and to make us feel like we have to be productive all the time. Often there's a reason behind why you feel lazy, and it's usually valid because you're tired. Maybe you had a long week, maybe you've just found out some bad news and you're just processing it. And I think that's what's happening a lot of the time. You're just processing it. And so, yeah, give yourself the momentum to just be human and sometimes allow yourself to just feel those uncomfortable feelings rather than push them away and go, no, I can't feel like this. I've got to be productive. Otherwise, I'm not like everybody else. You don't have to be like everybody else. It's better to feel what's happening rather than push it down, because it doesn't go anywhere, by the way. When we push emotions down, it doesn't go anywhere. So laziness doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in my mind.
But I think you have to put yourself first. And even though we were talking about, posting on social media, if you need to be looking after your siblings and it's hard enough to get out of bed, brush your teeth, go for a shower, then priority is not going to be getting on camera and saying, hey guys, I'm a photographer, like, and then your sister's in the background making noise. No, like, some days rot in bed, maybe repost something you've already made. There's no limit to how much you can promote yourself because, like Raf said, it's literally my room, get out. I think self-care is very important, so make sure you put yourself first before you go being all vulnerable on the internet. Like, that's my opinion anyway.
I think we always try and chase perfection
Yeah.
before we post, like, as in, and not even just posting, but just in life, like we don't want to be seen until we're like our element of like perfection. But we're always chasing that, but we'll never get that because
like, true, you might not ever be ready.
Like, that's what I mean. Like, if I keep saying, I'll put it off until I've done this or done this, it's like, but if I just post the journey, like, then I'm still being seen. Or if I, like, even just in not even a posting sense, but in a room sense, making yourself seen and like making yourself vulnerable is also a step in itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's a difference between fear and capacity. So learning to get really good at, am I not doing something out of fear of it not being perfect, of it being seen? Okay, how can I support myself through making this baby step, whatever it is, versus capacity, where I'm actually really drained. I've had a really shit day at work, or my creative cycle. I'm in the low of my creative cycle. I don't think we talk about creative cycles enough. You were not meant to be creatively expressive all the time. It is like everything else in nature. It has its death period. It's, the autumn, the winter, where we go into, what did you say? Whether you're incubating your ideas. That's like that gestation period where like things aren't ready to be seen yet, but they're still moving. And I think the more you can have grace with all forms of your creative cycle, the easier you move through them, and you just allow yourself those rest periods. But learn to differentiate rest or capacity. Do I actually have capacity for this versus fear? There's
literally people that make TikToks, reels that go viral from being like, come with me to brush my teeth. See this lighting, yeah? No, wait. But you can literally make content about anything, to be quite honest. You could say, hey guys, I'm a photographer. I currently look after my siblings because my mum and dad both work. Like, because there's a lot of people that might have similar situations to that, like, and will connect to you on that. So don't be afraid to show off something just because it doesn't look polished and it doesn't look Instagrammable. Like, people love vulnerability, particularly on TikTok. There is an audience for literally everyone on TikTok. It's crazy.
There's no room that you don't
belong in.
Yeah. And in TikTok, everyone's making their own little room, innit? Like,
yes.
And I love it.
And it's also those, like you said, about the whole thing of like, if we it's those weird moments that we feel like, oh, I'm not polished, no one will relate to this, like I'm feeling a bit whatever, but I'm just going to speak and share what I'm going through. Those are the stories that we need to see more of, and you will find they are the most relatable because no one fucking talks about them.
Yeah.
Like this whole like, I'm not like everybody else, but that everybody else doesn't fucking exist. No one is perfect, no one has their shit together, no one is constantly polished. Like we all go through this stuff, and I think humans now, we are craving, and I think it's up to us creatives and visionaries and dreamers to be the ones that tell the stories that no one else is telling, but that we're all living through and experiencing to some degree.
What would you say has been the hardest part about monetizing your art? How did you get your first piece of monetized art?
I would say like making the transition between like trying to sell like a collage to somebody, because it's also an online asset. So I scan it in, and then as I said, it becomes the 10 slides on Insta. Trying to tell people that that's important, or that the fact that it's handmade is like something that you should be able to discern, is something that's like, I guess, been like one of my more recent challenges. I mean, the one I showed you with the festival was a great example, because that was an example of me getting booked like for the photography and for the collaging as well, which cha-ching, like it's good. Part of me believes that like I got to the point of being able to say to someone like, yo, these 6 pieces of paper is going to cost X amount of money, because I had something like very unique in style, and I only got there by curating my own style and my own taste to the point that I felt comfortable to say that what I'm selling is like a particular thing. I think some of us are sometimes struggling to kind of like pinpoint our niche, and like how you then like kind of sell yourself to a scenario where you would command money. And I think that's also kind of like a part of acknowledging maybe where you also are in your career. Like there's times where you do have to kind of be, I guess, kind of like expendable to being like available. Like I remember in the early points in my career, me being available and me kind of trying to shoot every like motive, every party art, every listening thing, every little thing that was kind of going off. I feel like it was about getting my name out there, you know what I mean? But there's a time where you need to do that, you know what I'm saying? But then in doing that, I discovered my style. I discovered that I like shooting wide rather than shooting tight like certain man were. And then my niche became that I could take the sickest DJ shot where it was like at a wide angle, it's on film, and you're getting it the next day. And all of that come through just like that persistence, you know what I mean? So I guess in a weird way, you come to that point by going through all those hoops that let you know like, oh, this is where my individualism shines. Like this is what I bring to the table that someone else doesn't. And I'm a big believer in that. You'll be able to command your worth with the confidence that you possess.
Do you remember the first paid photography shoot you ever did that might not have specifically been your style now, but was like grafted hard to get it?
Grafted hard.
No, they can't.
No. Do you know what? Yeah, like, do you know what? Like, do you know what? I'm just a humble South London man, and I just don't believe in being a beg.
Right.
So, like, for me, I know it sounds really bad because I'm not demonizing anyone who puts themselves out there, but I'm very much believing in like just the things get drawn to you. And do you know what? There's a comfortability in that, like in knowing you're not extending yourself for the things that you then get offered from life. I think sometimes your art and your success being a consequence of like who you are as like a human being is a really nice way to sleep at night sometimes. There's some industries I think that kind of require you to play the game. We were talking about earlier about playing the game. Yeah, there's like a push and a pull there. But I would say like most of I think probably one of the first paid or kind of big things I did was, you know, Half Ports. Yeah. So one of my friends, he's a DJ, his name's Half Ports. He got his first big gig with Corrupt FM. And like him and my friend Scotty were proper garage heads, so it was a big thing for them, and they paid me to shoot that for them, and they trusted me with their biggest moment, you know what I'm saying? And like that day, like, so many good things happened from that day. But just getting that, like, I know it's so silly, it was only like £80, but that £80 from my friends, because they trusted my style. And they knew other man, like, I'm not gonna lie, there's a couple washed man now that they're still bitter about that one. But like from there I was like, wow, you trusted me with your biggest moment, like, wow, like I can now go to someone else and say, yo, my friend paid me £80. Like, you're paying 100 now, like, or you know what? I'm doing the film and I'm getting it done the next day. Like, this demands the fee. You know what I'm saying? Because no one else is doing that. So yeah, it's all about exploration and knowing where you're strong.
I think the biggest struggle I've had in monetizing my craft is bringing these quite vulnerable sessions and workshops to the corporate space, and it's such a juxtaposition, but I think it's so needed, but it's so terrifying because it's such a contradiction in what we're kind of taught a workspace should be, which is that fear element versus capacity. There's a fear there, but I do have the capacity for it. But it's a similar thing, like when I left my corporate job, it'll be 2 years in October, to go full time with with these workshops. I literally spent those next 2 months pitching my ass off to every corporate company that would accept me. And I landed some really cool big clients. But through that work, I realized, okay, these are the spaces or the companies that I really don't want to work with. But I would never have known that had I not just put myself out there. Like, nobody knew about me. No, I was a nobody in this space. But I think there is that risk involved of, to get to the point of monetization, you really do have to be willing to explore and get it wrong and take on jobs just for the money. But maybe there's a bigger door that opens up after that. And don't wait for the whole staircase to appear for the first step. To take the first step is words I always live by.
I can speak from this from the point of view of like monetizing your platform, like from a talent manager perspective.
But you studied law, right?
I mean, yeah, I studied law at
How did
university.
that actually happen?
To be fair, it was just I fell into it. That fell into it. I graduated, didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to be in a law firm in the corporate sense, and I was way more creative than that. So for me, I was looking for that. Where can I put my knowledge, but in a creative outlet? And then I started as an intern, as a talent manager, then went to a junior talent manager, then senior talent manager. And then I then moved to Amsterdam as a lead influencer manager, and then came back here, worked at a modeling agency as a senior talent agent, and then now working as an agency as a senior influencer manager. But so I've been on both the talent side and also the client side, working for brands. But my advice in terms of like monetizing your platform is, like, I think when people speak about themselves, even when you're speaking to brands or speaking to anyone that is willing to pay for your craft, is like, we're always a bit like, oh, should I position myself as that, or should I be less that? Like, you never know where to point yourself and like what people are willing to pay. And especially for like brands and clients, because when you speak, I feel like when you speak about yourself in first person, it's always a bit harder than speaking about yourself like in third person. So like, my advice, I mean, you didn't hear this here, but would be to, like, you know, make that email alias like not being yourself, but being like a management as such. And like, if you're small and you're trying to be, you're like making your step into the industry as a creator or a creative, but speak about yourself in third person. And like, therefore, then you can be like, oh yeah, here's the show reel, or here's the work that they've produced, and for this is the rate that they normally get. Like, because I feel like when you're speaking about yourself in third person, you have more of a tendency, you can go back and forth with clients and negotiate. Whereas when you speak about it like as an I, like you can feel that element of being like, oh, should I be doing this? Like, but when you speak about it like me as a talent manager, like I'd go back and forth until I got to where's right. And you know, sometimes like you push the boat out and you take the plunge and you go higher, and sometimes it will land and sometimes it doesn't, but it doesn't mean the door closes. You just got to know where to stop. Always like make yourself enter that room in terms of reaching out. I think that is the one thing, like, although like things do come from people seeing your craft, like always be on the lookout of like reaching out to agencies or brands, and just be like, hey, you got anything coming up, any campaigns that I'd love to work? Because even down, as I said, from the UGC like sense, like UGC creators are so like undervalued, but brands pay a lot of money for content to be created, and no followers are needed, because they will buy that content as a whole and put it on their own channel, and then they'll boost it, they'll put ads behind it, but you're the face of that for that moment. So yeah, that's my advice.
I love it. I love getting into the nitty-gritty of these things, particularly for people of color, specifically Black women. When it comes to being an influencer, being online, darker skinned women get paid the very least. We always, not me personally, but my mutuals, we all talk, and we get lowballed a lot. So the way that you have to conduct yourself is with like 10 times as much respect as you have for yourself. You have to move so bold, like you said, so professionally, because you have to advocate for yourself. I love this quote by Nicki Minaj: don't drink the pickle juice, all right? You deserve to have the whole pickle farm, actually, not just the juice. I remember going through 21 back and forths negotiating with the brand. And I was so persistent with it. I was like, I'm not gonna go for that. And I got them. A lot of content creating or working with brands is the art of negotiation and really believing in yourself as like a business. I think sometimes we forget that creativity and art is a business, and you have to really, again, advocate for yourself, because if you and do the best to research and find out more information that you don't know about, so that you're not put in a situation where you're accepting a really low offer for your art and you're like, oh man, you can always negotiate. So never, ever, ever accept the first offer, ever.
And isn't there that thing of like, you wait for a brand to give you the budget versus being upfront with what your fees are?
Yeah, I mean, from being on both sides of it, there's like that, I would say like, oh, like, please let me know your budget for this campaign. And then they will turn around and probably say, please let me know your fees. So like, it's the chicken and the egg, but you need to like, I would advise as a creator, always ask like, what is the budget for this? And like, what are the deliverables? Like, what's the usage? What's the exclusive rights? Because if they're putting paid behind it, if it's going like they're going to really push it and put ads behind, like that changes the value of your work. And it's not just you creating the content, but it's where it's going to be seen, because effectively it's like a billboard ad and you're in a virtual sense and you're being seen on so many phones on the thousands, like if not millions. So it's about just, as I just said, like reaching out, asking what the brand's like budget is, and then making sure you respect your craft. And I always say like, have your own, rate card as such for yourself. But as I said, that rate card will grow as you grow. And like when you grow in terms of not just on a follower sense, but on like the creative sense, and when you increase your lighting and your cameras, and like once you actually get into that in more, like, because you can start with just a phone and nothing else, but then you elevate yourself, and with that your craft elevates too.
I mean, I know there's a few DJs in here, and I've obviously been DJing for maybe like 4 years, I think. And when I started, the first paid job I got, I think, was like £50 from my friend. But you have to set a limit, because over time it can go from experience to exploitation. And not saying my friends are trying to exploit me at all, but if I'm charging my friends £50 for the whole thing, and then a brand comes up and they're like, oh, like, we want to book you for a few hours, and I'm like, well, I'm used to saying £50, so I'm just gonna say £50. Then you go there and you're like looking around thinking, everyone here's getting paid more. I know everyone's getting paid more than me. Why did I say that much? And you start feeling exploited and also resentful, because you've not put your boundaries up from the start. And actually you kind of only have yourself to blame, but it comes with the experience. So I think with experience, like if you're just starting out, experience is great to build, but you really have to treat yourself like a business.
I'm a music producer, and I'm at a point now where I'm starting to make some cash. I've been making music for years and years and years.
Yes, love it.
And now I'm at a point where it's kind of a part-time job now, which I'm super happy about. But you know, when you're a kid and you sit and make music because that's your hobby and it's your joy and it's that outlet. Now I sit down to make music thinking, man, I need to make some fucking money. How do you sort of balance that? How do you keep that inner child there whilst also thinking, I need to pay the blooming bills?
I'm always dissecting this, like with my friends, like, because, living in London is just expensive anyway. But you know what? Yeah, one thing a lot of people don't talk about is that with your creativity, like, it is sacred. It's like really sacred. It's this thing that you've probably discovered from within yourself somewhere, maybe from your childhood, something that was given to you by someone, a gift maybe, and it is sacred. And I think of that like water, yeah, and it comes from your heart, innit, right? If the water is sacred, we need to channel it the right way. You know what I mean? So maybe right now you're not in a time where you can rely on your music to make you money, right? Doesn't mean you have to forget the love for it. Maybe you need to find a way to insulate that and channel it a bit finer. So for me, like, I have a 9 to 5 as well. I'm not gonna tell people doing what, but it's like a very interesting and also very weird office job. And like, it's like something that is so far away from what I actually do creatively that I always have the mental energy to think creatively in my free time. But that covers the rent. That kind of like implements like the structure that allows me to like create without feeling that pressure to make the money. And then when I do make money from it, oh my God, it's amazing. It's like having another job. Yeah. But at the same time, like I've spent a while to kind of insulate that job and just get like that type of work that allows me to do that, and I make it work for me. And I think even if you think about it from like a kind of like a mental or even metaphysical kind of point of view, if you think of your heart and like your creativity as water, like the channeling of it is almost like earth. It's like structure. And sometimes that structure comes from like routines and disciplines. Like I have certain disciplines and rituals and routines that activate the ability to like turn one of these over in like 3 days, because I need to, because I know that I'm charging for that. But even for yourself, like sometimes you need that structure that allows you to create unbridled with any confusion or misunderstanding of your relationship. We all have a relationship with the things we love in our life. So I think sometimes it's important to keep them pure, you know, your vices, your friends, your families. Some of these we treat them very, very well. And some of them we treat them really bad, like our health or, you know, our bodies sometimes. But you know, if you want something good from that, you got to really curate like a nice relationship with that. So that childlike love, you got to cherish that and maybe say, you know what, right now, maybe you need to take a bit of time to insulate that.
It's taken me 10 years to get to the point where I can actually support myself financially through my craft. And my biggest mistake was stepping out into it full time too quickly. And I ended up fucking hating something that I was so passionate about. And I completely lost that connection because it was so driven by money. Because we are humans, we are in this system, we have to play the game. We have bills to pay. So the way I did it last time, so 2 years ago, was I had this structure where I was freelancing. And I was able to support myself through a retainer client, which I still have now, which enables me to then really maintain and nurture that inner child, unbridled joy for my craft. When you can marry the two, you'll know, but don't think that it invalidates that craft just because you can't financially pay yourself from it full time. It's like something that grows with you. You've got to give it some space to grow.
You know, sometimes as well, we're taking in things at such a fast rate these days that everyone just take, like I watch sometimes people on the tube, like just taking something. We're processing so much here that I think in that big process of processing stuff, like you might look at someone who does something and think like, right, they're just doing their thing. Like, and it's easy, particularly as well, I see some DJs and I know they're full-time jobs. Like you would think that they're living the life of like a international like playboy, bruv. Like, but like in reality, they have something that's backing it up, or there's something you don't know about, and that's why it's important to also as well. Like I think even it's a duty for people like ourselves who maybe sometimes others are looking at us as like established, to maybe even just sometimes like open up on like talking about these things. Like I think I tell people more now that I like have like a little 9 to 5 going on, to let them know that it's okay for you to be focused on that, you know, because. That's London, man.
Share those stories. They are so important. Like, think about other people. I think that's such a creative issue. Literally. Is that we all like, oh, this needs to make our full-time income and I'm not established until it does. Yet it is part of every creative person's journey. So like, please share those stories. It is context we all need to see.
I think also it's all just smoke and mirrors. Like, as you were saying, you don't know, like people can give you the high life of but they give you the highlights of their life, and then that's all the best parts that you'll see. But behind that, everyone is still grafting. And to your point, both of your points, is like for yourself is like, obviously you make beats and you create your music and your craft, but on top of that, like just find the avenues that give you the enjoyment. So whether that could be like teaching people, like and giving them the space to be able to then learn that and like fall in love with it, and then that will reignite your passion of it, and you're then monetizing the teaching someone, and you're giving lessons as well as also creating it for people as well. And for your point, like back to like understanding how many avenues there are to monetize in your space, like in terms of photography, you create your craft in the collage and what you do, and that's your like space. But also if you're trying to make money or more money or this extra money, don't limit yourself to that when there are elements of also like we all have, like we always say, like multiple streams of income. So like you can do that as your main source, but back to like when I was working at a modeling agency, all of the things that you see are not real. Do you know what I mean? Like when you see someone like in a magazine or pictured going to dinner with someone, like they have called a photographer, they have orchestrated that, and then they've then gone to their person that writes for the Daily Mail in the showbiz and went, hey, here's a picture, she gets paid, he gets paid, and then she gets seen because it's creating a story. So it's like there's so many avenues of making money in every aspect of people's jobs. I think it's just about like being creative with it and like seeing what you can do with it, but also like, yeah, still cherish what you do as your craft and like what's your like sacred haven, but also knowing like how you can also monetize in so many different avenues.
So I think a lot of people are doing jobs right now that they don't like doing, and I was definitely one of those people. I quit 5 jobs in 1 year because I was like, I'm going to do this. No, I'm not. I'm going to go full time. No, I'm not. Because I so wanted it. Now, in hindsight, being in a job that you really don't like, okay, is actually super useful. It's teaching you stuff that you have no idea is going to be useful later. I used to do like a customer service job years ago, and it was relentless. There were queues from beginning of the day to the end. And I was having to do things I didn't want to do as a makeup artist. I was having to do a foundation match over and over and over and over again. You can imagine what that does to somebody who loves colour and wants to draw out of the lines, and you're doing the same thing over and over. And what I learned was how to deal with people, how to deal with, not only that, when you're going to deal with, those people tend to be like brands who then become, or, you know, when you're going to produce another artist or something who's going to be really particular, they're going to wind you up. They're going to want all of these things that are just like, oh my God, what more does this person want? And you just go through this process of going, and you learn how to deal with like all the stuff that is so frustrating. And then it just makes you slick. It makes you slick so that when you do get that job that you're like, so pumped for, not only are you like state of the art with your like experience, you're just, it's so seamless, and it will just flow so easy. Another thing is that sometimes we can be like, I want it now because of age, right? We're like, I've got to do this now before a certain period of time. We're all scared to death of like, you know, growing older and not achieving in life. But sometimes things happen gradually and then suddenly. So you never know what's around the corner.
So what I want you to think about is 1 or 2 skills that you actually have or you think you could do that you feel like you could maybe monetize. Also, something that is actually really close to you, which you are not sure if you even want to monetize yet. Like for me, recently I've started, obviously been influenced by TikTok, but I've started coloring. And obviously no one's going to be paying me for my coloring, but I love doing it. Whilst Love Island's on, I'm just there like drawing outside the lines, like with my felt tips. And I love doing that. It's art, it's creativity, but I'm not going to be getting paid to do it. But it also inspires more creativity from doing something like that. It's just like allowing your inner child to roam free.
Hi, I'm Kemi. So I DJ and I present, but I recently have become, so basically I'm someone who's very consistent at being inconsistent. So I was like, okay, let me just commit to going to the gym. Okay. I started, it was a process. Like I was consistent for a week and then I stopped and then would go back like 3-4 months later, and then the process continued.
Story of my life. Yeah.
Literally. But it wasn't until last year that I was, from like summer, I was actually consistent, and I was like, you know what, like I've always been quite like active, but I actually enjoy this. So I was like, you know what, like let me do a little PT course. So that's something that I'm getting into this year, and I want to like, you know,
I love that.
PT and do that alongside like DJing and stuff.
Yeah.
For her, man.
I love that.
Okay, my name is D-Wayne, by the way. I think online, when it comes to online, I think for me, because I'm a musician, but it's more kind of talking about music and talking about things that I'm passionate about. Because what I've noticed is that when I do that, that definitely gets more interaction, the music, which isn't a bad thing. But sometimes I'm so hell-bent on how I want to be seen, and I want to blow up like this or da-da-da. I was saying to these, I'll ask God for a sign. And there was one day I sat back and I was scrolling through my TikTok and Instagram. I was like, you're getting the most interaction from talking about music and things that you're passionate about. So maybe that is the way to go. You can monetize from that, and then you can use that money to then fund other things.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's the stubbornness and the ego that I need to kind of, you know what I mean, that I need to get over. So in terms of monetization, I think it'd be probably something in that field, because there is something. I can't be like, I want to sign and I'm seeing something and it's like, no, I want it. No, like there is something there. So I'd say probably that.
Hello again. Yeah, I never actually said I'm Davide. I'm a DJ. I'm a tutor as well, and started producing. This was something that I started like kind of working on, and it was very like accidental. Like people just started asking me to do things, and I was like, okay, I'd love to learn how to do that, and then I'll start doing it and getting paid for that. But so like for example, like I started teaching other DJs as well, starting off with like my friends for free, and then it became like a school, and then I was doing like workshops and stuff. But one thing that I kind of like was kind of struggling with is taking it to a level where you can go to corporate spaces and offer those kind of services and know how to communicate in that style. For like DJing, I know you have to do like EPKs and, you know, maybe a website and all these different things. But then when you're doing something that's, you're delivering value in a way that's not necessarily easy to quantify and communicate. So like a team building workshop is a DJing workshop, and people get all these kind of like things you can't describe, you know, and they all just do the team bonding thing and they feel really good. How then do you, because I know people who charge like $1,000 to do these workshops, for example.
Well, companies have money, so
Yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, my workshops feel very vulnerable because I feel like they are so different to your standard confidence or whatever workshop. Same as like a DJ / you know, team building exercise. But I think it is those spaces that need those things the most, because it is so boring and so vanilla and so the same and all carbon copies. When I left my job to obviously start these workshops, I jumped straight on LinkedIn and I literally just went through every creative I went with creative companies first because I thought they'd be the easiest to kind of sell into. I found heads of HR, people directors, culture leads. And the great thing about social media now is you have direct connections to the people that are making these decisions like we have never had. And pitch, just connect with them on LinkedIn, send your pitch, send your DM. Yeah, you might have a few rejections, but out of those 50, someone will get back to you, right? And I think I always remembered everyone starts out as a stranger. Everyone starts out at zero, you know, you've just got to put yourself out there. But I found LinkedIn an incredibly powerful platform for getting into the corporate space. So I would focus on there and lean into the fact that it's so different. Like that is the selling point. That's not a reason as to why it can't work. I think it's actually, that is your USP. So do it and say, take what Brandon said about budget. I mean, if you want to charge $1,000, try it. If they're going to negotiate, they'll negotiate. And then you can negotiate back down, have your minimum number that you'd feel like it would be a waste of your time to do it. And just give it a go. Who cares if you don't hear back? Just try.
Have audacity. They have money. What's the worst that they can say? No? Yeah. Oh, well, next. Failure is like part of success. And I think we sometimes get so scared of it because we're like, that's like a personal, that's something to do with me. It's not. Don't take it personally. Just allow it to be part of the process, because it makes you like, it makes your backbone like steel. Because part of rejection is so key in creativity. Accepting that, oh, well, next. Apply exactly what you said. Going into these corporate spaces, utilize things. If you don't know how to present, say you want to email something, use ChatGPT. You can get it to frame it exact. Say, I want you to present this like I am a very specific person. And it will do that for you. And then send that email and just see what happens. Even if sometimes you think you're getting rejected, people remember you later. And then so many of my friends, they've done a lot of brand outreach or reach out, and they haven't heard back for a year. And then somebody remembered them. And they were like, oh no, but this person's great for this now. So you never know where these little seeds that you're planting are going to go.
Hello, I'm Elena, and I'm a UGC creator, and I have a food page with my sister. And something that I don't want to monetize on is like little side projects, especially that has to do with sewing. So whenever I see something that I like, I'm thinking, okay, let me just try and recreate it. And I can see sometimes my friends, they just say, oh, you should try and like do more and then just marketize. But I don't know, I just like experimenting a bit, and I don't think it's something that I want to lose. So that's my answer.
You mean you don't want to lose the love for it?
Yeah, because it's gonna get to a point where I have the responsibility to keep up with the business, and then I'm just gonna think, oh my god, like I want to do something else, but then this is selling more, so I don't want to get to that point, but we'll see.
It's a hard one to think about. Like, should I? At what point do you think I want to monetize it, or at what point do you just leave it and let it be something you love to do?
Yeah, I think it's experimenting with those things. I almost feel like with most long-term passion projects, there's some form of message involved, something that you're like wanting to share with the world that you don't feel exists already. And I feel like those tend to be the passion projects that you end up really, it's the ones you just can't forget. Like your mind actually, or your heart won't let you forget about it, versus things that feel really fun and allow you to hone a different type of skill, but it's really more specifically for you. So like those sewing projects and finding something and learning how to recreate it. But I think you'll mess up. You'll probably try and monetize the wrong thing, realize, okay, I've messed up, I've monetized the wrong thing, and I shouldn't monetize everything. And again, none of us have the answers. Like, no one gets this right the first time. It's taken me 10 years to really get to a business model that works for me. But I would not be here had I not been willing to fail and been willing to just take a step and put myself out there and just try.
Yeah.
You'll get it right, you'll get it wrong, you'll learn. Everything's invaluable feedback.
I think we always just think like when you start something, it's going to have to be this big business, this big idea, and it has to have longevity. But I've done things that have been good for that period of time, and then, you know, put it in a box and be like, okay, now we move on. Like how me and you met was via via in COVID times, there was an application much like TikTok Live now, but called Bigo, and on there I was live streaming, but I then had an agency on there with a roster of like 30 people, all live streaming, doing like drag queens, DJing. Like there was so much doing it at that time, which was great because it was COVID. But once COVID was over, there was no longer as much of a demand in it, because not many people were always just scrolling, and like that it dropped. So therefore, instead of me like clinging on to that, it was like, okay, how do I pivot from what I've learned and like change the direction of travel so that I can monetize on something else? So I think knowing, like, doing something for whilst it's good, but also knowing when to like move on is also another part, and not being so like, I think when we love something so much, you want it to do so well, and you can always see it. But the sewing, for example, you can do, but you can also start a community of people that also want to like learn, and you can do classes of that. It doesn't have to be monetizing from the get-go. You could be like, okay, everyone £5, and you can like, we can all learn to do it together. And it's like you bring your own equipment, and then you're doing it as a whole. My friend does a little crocheting class. It creates a nice vibe of people constantly like doing something together. You're all doing it and you bounce off of each other. So I think it's about just finding your like part of it, but also knowing when to like, you know, quit. Exactly, because it's but quitting doesn't mean failure. It just means what's next.
Maybe on a deeper one, because what you were saying was really nice, like about it bringing people together. Maybe the monetization is like the monetization of your heart, you know what I mean? Because even as well, like for me, like I love cooking. Like anytime I post like my food, people are like, oh, like cook for me, teach me how to cook, like, but then I use it as like a really nice, like I feel like I could do the whole, tonight I'm cooking this with porcellini mushrooms, like, you know what I mean, like doing all that. But then I feel like it would take away from my relationship with it. But I love using it as an excuse to like see my friends or like talk with someone, because when you cook, you run music, you catch up properly, you do something together, you create something for someone, or together you create something for each other. And I think there's a nice some kind of incubation of community. So maybe whether your sewing might bring, you know, your friends together, or my cooking might bring my people together, or, you know, whatever other thing you might do, like whether it's football or, you know, the girl who says that you're getting into PTN now, like maybe you're going to bring your friends together to do like a little run. Like sometimes like bringing people together is also like a monetization in itself, because you then inspire more people, and who knows, with that community you could go forward and establish a little thing in the future, you know what I mean? But I think it all comes back down to what we're talking about, is like remembering that like there is a childlike something behind all this, like there is some type of inspiration behind it, where you can't sour it too much, but then when it's ready to be poured into other glasses, you'll know, you know what I mean? Like so yeah.
Do you have advice on balancing like mental health and knowing that you have mental health conditions, trying to make an income and balance that with knowing that you've got your mental health or other competing priorities as well?
I experienced extreme burnout. I'm sure a lot of you in this room, not a lot of you, but some of you will probably have experienced burnout, and that is pushing yourself past limits your body cannot accept. I think it's really, really important for everyone here, as probably the oldest on this panel, to really put your body first. So if you suddenly start to feel very unwell, and remember, when we all do jobs, we get taught that, you know, only physical sickness counts. If you're not feeling well, you are unwell. So you have a right to not be at work. Don't let anybody force you to work through limits that you physically cannot tolerate. The reason I advocate so much for the mental health aspect of being an artist is because nobody teaches you how to deal with that aspect of it. That's not really taught in any art school. I didn't even go to art school. Nobody teaches you how to go through the psychological warfare that happens when you make art, because it's not easy. Everybody, one of the quotes I love is, do you like making art? No. Why do you make it? Because I have to. And something I talk about on my YouTube is that it's interesting when you understand the etymology of words. So passion is an interesting one because it's rooted in the Latin pati. And when we think of passion, we think, oh, I'm so passionate about my craft, or I'm so passionate about helping animals, or I'm so passionate about styling people. And the word passion literally means suffering. So when you love something so much, there's an element of pain to it. And what happens when you're an artist is that we can turn that pain inside and inflict it on ourselves. And somebody said something great about sadness and depression is anger turned inwards. And we take on all this responsibility of our art and making it like, it's so intense, this love that we have. It's such deep passion that it's almost overwhelming because we don't know how to conduct our energy. The thing that I try to teach people is that you are like a conductor in, you know, a symphony. You know exactly what is magical there. You control that sound, that energy, and the loudness. You're the wizard. Listen, I don't think people understand how magical all of you have this ability of creating something out of nothing. Not a lot of people can do that. Not a lot of people can take a thought, a passing idea, and actually put it into reality. So when we're dealing with mental health, understand that the things that we love, there's loads of other words, by the way, that are rooted in the word suffering. Patience is one of them. Empathy is one of them. Compassion is one of them. These are positive, beautiful words. What happens is we think that creativity and art should only be joyful, should only be top tier frequencies. There's a lot of difficult, uncomfortable emotions that come through art. It makes you go through all of that frequency. The thing that I always tell people is to really ground yourself. Yes, you're an artist, and it's amazing that you've got all of these ideas. It's why we get so buzzy with like our ideas. We want to do this, and we want to do that, and we want to do this. It's because we're taking these ideas from the ether, and we're trying to implement them, but we've got these human bodies, and it's sometimes too much. And so you get to have days, months, long periods of time of going, okay, you know what? I burnt myself out from doing, from pushing myself to limits I couldn't take. Your body is your best friend. It's holding your soul. And sometimes we just think very mindfully, which is great. It's good to think about what the mind wants, but what does the body need? Often the body just wants to feel safe. It wants to feel like, hey, can we just like have some nice food? Can we just have like a home cooked meal? And can we not worry about anybody else? Can you just be with me right now? And our bodies just go through so much trauma is to be an artist or a creative. Like we go through a lot. And the reason we go through a lot is because we see the things that people don't. We notice. Do you know how much effort it takes to notice? So many people don't care. That's what magic and creativity is. And regardless of your craft, you're pinpointing those little details in things. And then when we share them to the rest of the world, how magical is that? How many moments of us have we all been in where we've been in a really bad place, and then you're going to go out on a night out and Mads is going to DJ and then you feel brand new. Dancing, using your physical body. Anyway, I'm going on too much now.
I've got a slightly different take. just because I'm obsessed with feelings and our relationship to emotions. And I think we have the entire thing a little bit backwards. Pain and suffering and fear and really uncomfortable feelings are almost a side effect of being a human. And I think it comes back to this conversational piece and the perfectionism and the way we've kind of built this world where everyone's just Instagram perfect, this, that, and the other. And it's like, it's just so unhelpful. And I think this is where the creativity you're talking about and being able to almost alchemize it and turn pain into something healing for the world by almost putting it in the spotlight. Like, I'm not perfect. I really struggle with these things. I struggle with health anxiety. I struggle with depression. I think being able to see it as a part of your gift to the world as opposed to something that's an obstacle without it turning into toxic positivity, more about like, this is something we all need to talk about and we actually need to normalize. Because I think every single person in this room could quite easily say, yeah, I really struggle on days. I have periods where I don't want to get out of bed, or I'm really taking something to heart and I can't, you know, I feel really unmotivated, etc., etc. And we have varying degrees in that. It's that piece of, it is everyone's experience. And if we just spoke about it a little bit more and we utilized our creativity to turn that conversation into something really empowering for everyone, ironically, we'd feel the impact of it less. It would become less of the elephant in the room and just something that exists as a byproduct of being alive.
Hi, my name's Tom. I'm going through a bit of a mental block at the moment. So I trained as an actor when I was younger, as a kid, and I did it from the age of 8 till 20. And then I left that world completely. I'm back in it now. I work in TV production, but very much behind the camera. I'm wanting to get back in front of the camera, but I'm going through that thing that you all spoke about, like the fear. So I could speak to anyone. I could sit next to anyone in this room and confidently chat to anyone. But being in front behind the camera and being filmed just feels so alien and strange and doesn't feel authentic enough for me. But I want that. I thought I want my personality to come across on screen. Do you have any tips of how I could do that, or to let down my guard and feel a little bit more confident being filmed?
So, like, what do you enjoy about acting?
To be honest, when I was younger, I kind of fell into acting and I liked not being myself, but now I want to be myself. I love being myself. I love speaking to people. You know, I love being able to learn about people, presenting, you know, that's the goal, that's the dream. But as soon as you put a camera in front of me, I hate it.
Do you know what? Yeah, one of my favorite things, I love talking to people. Like, I love like this idea that every person is like a different story, and I love movies. Like, one of my favorite things to do, and this is another maybe something that might help trigger some creative thoughts about how to look at it, is I love watching interviews with my favorite directors, my favorite actors, and just even hearing about how like a character is written is like really kind of beautiful for me. And the reason why I like it is because it helps me understand perspectives, and in a lot of my collages I'm putting my writing in there, so I'm kind of constantly trying to analyze those perspectives. But through learning it through different points, like maybe from a director's perspective or maybe from like other actors' perspectives, might make you look at the approach like a bit differently. But one thing that I really enjoy, I'm not an actor, right? But I just love this idea of just hopping in and out of people's lives. Like everyone's got a story to tell, everyone's got their own little universe. And I almost feel like through the pathway of conversation, I can learn things. So what I do is often I'll just set up random things that I'm doing with my friends, whether it's like go get a coffee. A lot of times it's coffee. I might work with those people in the same spaces as me whilst I'm collaging, or, you know, dinner, food, whatever, go out, walk. And I kind of set myself this kind of goal of thinking, oh, what am I going to learn about this person today? And I'll slowly pick it out. But picking it out sometimes requires you to become like a certain type of listener or a certain type of like extractor of information. And it sounds kind of menacing, but in a weird way, I use it to cultivate and keep my conversational skills sharp, particularly during times where I'm going through like less social times, like winter as well. So I might ask you to maybe channel that within yourself, to be like, you know what, I'm gonna talk to someone today and I'm gonna learn something about them, and I put like assume the position of like a different person that is yourself, that uses your same skills, but you're honing in on one particular part. You know what I mean? Like, because for example, when I talk to my friends, yeah, like about like their relationship stuff, like I gotta be like a sensitive therapist. You know what I mean? But it requires me to lean into certain degrees of my empathy that maybe I don't have all the time every day. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I just want to tell my friends like, "Oh, shut up, you're being silly." Like, but in reality, it requires that softer tone that might channel different, like, I guess, like palettes of your personality that you might be able to see going forward in the future and how to present yourself, you know?
I find a really powerful reframe for that fear of being seen is you've got to find a bigger meaning. You've got to find a bigger payoff. So what is embracing the fear of being seen give me access to that I do not have without that fear? So putting yourself in the camera, yeah, it's terrifying. Yeah, you're being witnessed. Yeah, you might feel uncomfortable and awkward at first, but had I not put myself in this situation, what do I not have access to? So is it impacting people's lives? Is it living out something as an actor authentically that I haven't ever been able to do before? That's fulfillment. You've got to find something that's a bigger why. That fear then becomes a tool to be able to experience that. And that's how, if you take something, away from this around fear, it's utilize it. It gives you access to things in life that you cannot have without stepping into its realm.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Omar, artist name Altomar. I'm a DJ and I'm just starting to learn how to produce music. So to close on a happy note, if you had one, what was the happiest day of your life and why?
You know what, yeah, I can't do of my life here, but in recent times, like just with my career, yeah, like, yo, you get days where you're just like out, like you're outside, like big festival, big performance, and you're just like, the privilege of being a photographer is you're right near it. And like that City Splash one that I just made, yeah, like as a heavy Jamaican, like just reggae music is my life, bro. Like, you know, man, I'm trying to plant in with some Sanchez in the background or some Lovers Rock and all that, like, you know what I mean? But like, there was a day where I just got to see every performance live and I was right near it and I was just seeing all my friends in the crowd. Like the privilege of like what I do and knowing that I was there because I was talented was like such a beautiful thing. And it was like the perfect kick to summer. That and like Carnival, because Carnival you get to be on the big float and see everything go by and it's like the end credits to summer, like, yeah. So I remember summer in particular, the privileges of my job give me access to those experiences and I love that. As I'm sure probably in the summer, you know, you're DJing, you probably get those experiences too. So yeah, big music moments, man. Yeah.
I couldn't say of my life, but I can say of the last year. I would say in a professional sense, the moment where I felt like most proud, should we say, was the last campaign that I just did, which was for Revolut. And I was solely responsible for the booking of all the talent from Charlie XCX to Stephen Bartlett. And like that, when I like deeped it, like I was running on adrenaline from 6 a.m. till midnight every day, being the only talent liaison from like, upon they entered to the green room to side of stage, on, off, like end to end, it was like a mission in itself of time in. But I was the one responsible for all of that, like headline talent, the macro, the nano talent, like that for me, like once I digested it, it was like, wow, I did that. So like that is like a big moment.
It's so difficult to pinpoint one day, but I did catch myself recently in the middle of filming and really going, shit, I'm doing what I love. And it felt like it just happened, even though the process has been, intense. And then I was in that moment and I just thought, wow, I am so lucky to be doing what I love. And the thing that I love the most is, like, I love making art, I love writing, I love all of these attributes and niches that I have. But the thing I love most that really just makes me feel alive is when I see somebody see themselves for who they are. Like, the way I like to think about it is that I get to just adjust the camera lens so that somebody can see themselves, and it was just a bit blurry. I'm not really doing anything, I'm just moving like a couple millimeters. And then they then really see who they are, and that's magical. Like, knowing that people aligned with their creativity, it's just like nothing else. I love it.
I think mine's quite similar to Liv. I had a workshop at the end of last year and I got some feedback from one of the clients or one of the attendees who I had no idea she was really struggling with some personal things. And at this workshop, almost overnight, even her boss ended up emailing me and saying she is like a different person, and it's been sustained. I've seen them recently, and whatever we did in that session, whatever space we created for, you know, for her to literally just feel like she was safe to be herself and not have her shit together, was such a defining moment for her that it actually triggered something where she felt like she was starting to find herself again. And I think, yeah, as when you do something that you love, those moments are what you do it for. I feel like there's a part of me that almost at one point wanted to be able to give that to myself. And now it feels like a privilege to have been through all that suffering and pain and then be able to help someone else not have to go through it alone.
Wow. It's funny because I obviously have big goals and I want to be a big worldwide DJ. But when I look back at the best day of my life, I think some of the biggest gigs I've done, I've just felt so nervous that I've barely enjoyed it. But obviously, I came away thinking like, oh my God, best day of my life, because like I can now put it on Instagram, but like actually didn't feel that great. But today, not to get too deep, but today feels really amazing because it's this sense of community which just feels like warmth. Like I was so nervous at the start, but as the time's gone on, I feel like it's so needed and everyone has been really vulnerable and I could honestly cry. Younger me would honestly look up and think, how she's so cool. Like I want to give her a hug. I want to hang out with her. And the people I am surrounded with are a reflection of that as well. And I just want to say thank you everyone for showing up, and
thank you for doing it.
Thank you. No,
we all need the best. Yes, let's give a round of applause, please, everyone.